It's James. Welcome back to the channel. So glad you are here. I'm actually going to, what I've been trying to do is to put different material on TikTok compared to what's here on YouTube. This one's so good. I want it to be on both platforms because I want my YouTube subscribers to know that I've got a series of articles talking about why ministers fall and what we can do when ministers fall. That's going to be on the TikTok channel. So, but this stuff, I actually got this from Google. And I think this is a really, really good list. It said, pastors, like all people, can fall into sin for a variety of reasons, including, and we'll put it up here, number one, pride. Pride can lead to compromise and unwise decisions. Look, you've got to understand that if you're a minister, there are ministers out there that can speak better than you. There are ministers out there who are smarter than you. There are ministers out there who may have a specialty in another area. Like I know some ministers actually will go and get their licensed professional they'll become licensed professional counselors, so they can actually do counseling during the week. I know some ministers have gone on to become licensed family. I forgot what the acronym is, but it basically is like a family therapist. Everybody has different strengths, and it's not, how do I say this? Comparison can be the biggest joy stealer out there. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If you've got a church of 100, be thankful that God gave you those people. But what can happen is if all of a sudden, God is blessing you and God is blessing your ministry, and all of a sudden more and more people show up, you start to believe that you were the one who did it. And Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It is only through Jesus that we can do this. And by the power of the Holy Spirit, without that, without God, we can do nothing. That includes me. So, number two, lack of accountability. You've got to have people in your life to hold you accountable. I have an endorser. I have a boss that takes care of me for my day job. I've got my wife. I've got a pastor. I've got friends. I've got people in my life to hold me accountable. And sometimes these, especially in mega churches, they set up an environment where they're in charge and nobody questions them. That can't be. And if you're in the pews, you have the right to ask questions. If you don't get a straight answer, you got to kind of wonder what's going on. Number three, burnout. Pastors become burnt out and tempted to give up. That's why self-care is so important. People in ministry need to take care of themselves mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And I would say that's the same for all Christians. All Christians need to take care of themselves. Working out is important. Eating healthy is important. Reading is important. You got to exercise the mind. So, number four, pressure. Pastors can feel pressure from relational difficulties in the congregation, opposition towards the church, or the struggle to continue in ministry. Okay. If you're in a smaller church, I get it. You want church to grow. Well, you can go out and invite somebody to church. The problem with any church is that what typically happens is that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. Let me say that again, and I'll put it up on the screen. 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. So you don't want your pastor to be burned out? Volunteer. Number 5. This one's huge. Position of authority. A position of authority can give a false sense of immunity from sin. We are, as Martin Luther said, we are both saint and sinner. We are both and. And the moment you forget that as a minister is the moment you are headed towards a fall. Number 6, drifting. Pastors can drift away from their love of Jesus, and the promises of God and His Word can become dusty. And I think that goes back to self-care. I love my audio Bible. So I'm kind of surprised because, full disclosure, when I went through seminary, we were always reading the NRSV, and I felt like they were trying to force it on us. And like every professor had to use the NRSV. They couldn't use the New King James. They weren't using the NIV. They weren't using the New American Standard. Had to be the NRSV. I kind of rebelled against that. Didn't want to use it. And then the funny thing was, of all the audiobooks I have, of all the audio Bibles I have, the NRSV one is the best one as far as listening to it. So I started using the NRSV. But I know hearing the word, Romans 10:17 says, "For faith comes by hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ." Hearing the Bible every day helps me to grow, and it helps me to be strong spiritually. And then number 7, putting ministry first. Pastors can become too busy to cultivate a prayer life that places God first. Look, truth is, my ministry is always going to be an overflow of my personal devotion. So if I'm not praying and I'm not reading my Bible, then ministry is going to suffer because of it. So we're going to talk about the different articles on TikTok. I primarily want to keep YouTube for what's happening at Gateway Church, what's happening at IHOP, and what's happening in some of these other churches here in Texas. Since I live in Texas, I can talk about it a little bit more freely. In fact, I'm probably either next week or the week after going to go visit Gateway again, just because I want to see in person what's going on. And so, but I will admit, being able to listen online helps. And so I did that, and I thought it was a pretty good sermon. Now, tomorrow I'm going to talk about what was in the Royce report. More stuff about this class action lawsuit has come out, and the whistleblower who was running their global missions fund has said more. So you're not going to want to miss that. So in the meantime, if you are new, please hit like and subscribe. I do want to thank you for being here. Thank you so much for watching. It's funny. I just realized I've got my light for my camera, and I completely forgot to use it. See, I told you, I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes, but that's okay. When I do the video for the Royce report, I will use the light. So, after all, that's what we're doing. We're bringing light to darkness. We're trying to expose wolves in sheep's clothing, and we're trying to eliminate clergy misconduct. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here, and I will see you tomorrow.